A wizard arrives precisely when he means to.
You're going to school!
Hello.
I don't know why, but I thought you were doing some other show tonight.
Oh, that was last week. Was that last week? What? It's been a blur. We've recorded so many things in the last couple weeks. We are a recording machine these days. Okay, check 1, 2.
Yeah, that's my bad.
What you up to?
Well, right now I'm just eating a steak salad and watching this show, My 600-Pound Life. Oh my god!
So, is the show there to inspire you to eat more or to eat less?
That's a good question. Right now, I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
Awesome. Nothing like a good steak salad. Well,
indeed.
Megan said she's going to be here in a minute too, and might as well go ahead and do this. Let's do this.
Now recording
on the first try.
Winner, winner.
Winner, winner. Steak salad dinner.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, we have to do this too. This is another part of our opening credits.
All right, it's not a beer, but I got a nice can of Coke here.
Oh, okay, nice. Is that regular Coke or diet or?
Oh, I'm not watching my weight, man. I'm bulking up for the trail. You kidding me?
Hey, when do you leave?
I leave like the end of June. Like
Okay.
I already have a flight booked on the 19th. But I'm like still debating about if I want to spend a couple days in Reno or
Oh man,
just
these are
get
tough
right
choices.
to it.
Have you been to Reno?
No, I have not.
I was there a long, long time ago, and under really weird circumstances too. Marine Corps Mountain Warfare School is in the Sierra, and I think Bridgeport is the nearest city, Bridgeport, California. And that's kind of where our operations were based out of. But we stayed camped in the mountains for the whole 6 weeks we were there. But we had one weekend where they loaded us up on school buses and took us to Reno to gamble for like 6 hours and then drove us back to the mountains just to blow off some steam. And I'm not a gambler, and I'm not really, I drink, but like 3 is kind of my limit because I fall asleep. I'm not like a crazy drunk or anything, but after 3 I start to nod off. So it was kind of like, it was nice to get away from all the craziness and the training and relax a little bit. But it was like, my choices are gambling, or I just kind of walked around the town and just checked the place out. It was really pretty, just lit up. And I mean, I guess now maybe I might think of it differently now. I might see it from some high ridge and think of it as an eyesore and, unleash.
Yeah.
Go full Hey Duke on it.
I'm kind of skeptical about it because, like, I'm not a big gambler either. And if I went there, I probably wouldn't even gamble. But the thing is, like, my flight arrives pretty late at night. So I'm just thinking, why not just get a hotel room and then maybe bum around for a day, get acclimated to the altitude, since I'll be going from sea level to however many thousand feet up that is.
So this is for you, and I've talked about this before, but not everyone knows this is for your PCT hike this summer that you're doing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that while we're waiting for Megan to show up, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so basically in 2017, I set out with the intention to through hike the PCT, but as most people know, it just was not an optimal year, and there was just a lot of different little hang-ups like injuries and breakups and things like that ended up happening. So
we don't. Yeah.
This year I'm going back solo, and I'm just basically wrapping up. There was like an 800 or so mile section, I think a little less than that maybe, that I missed, but I'm just gonna end up hiking like a little over 1,000, just going all the way to the Washington-Oregon border so I can arrive there for PCT days.
PCT days is when?
Oh God. August sometime. I see Jules in the chat. Jules, help me out here. Last weekend in August. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I legit don't know, and just the PCT in general is something that I'm super curious about, because I know the AT so well, and the PCT is just so far away, and I've only done like a couple of miles of it by accident a few times. It's still this big mystery to me. I know.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like a whole different culture out there. It's kind of hard to describe, but once you get out there, you'd understand it. Like, most people out there, it's not their first through hike, at least from what I saw. And you had people starting at the terminus doing 20s out of the gate.
Right, but it's also more forgiving in terms of elevation change, right?
Yeah, the elevation change on the Appalachian Trail is greater than the elevation change on the PCT. But that being said, the PCT is way more exposed and a lot more remote. So that kind of brings its own challenges, I would say. If you're having a bad day, it's not like the AT where you can probably just hike for a day and then be like, all right, I'm going to go have a town day. It's like, nope, you're going to hike for another 3 days or whatever.
Wow. Yeah. And you're not going to get any water.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the year that I hiked it, we got lucky. It was record snowfall year for that year. And so there was actually some water in the desert, which was clutch. Even that being the case, we still had people getting heat exhaustion and having to evac them off a trail.
Oof.
A few times.
Oh man, that sounds.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal in the desert.
Yeah. Well, and you've got snow to deal with too. You've got not just snow to cross on foot, but snow pack and melt to worry about as well too. You have to really pay attention to the weather, months in advance, not just weeks in advance or days in advance like we do here on the East Coast. Correct?
Yeah, everybody knew going in this year that the Sierra was going to be crazy, and that there was a ton of snow there, and that the river crossings were going to be gnarly. Some people went through early and made it out. A lot of people, I think, kind of waited, or one thing that a lot of people did was they flip-flopped. So they would skip the Sierra and then hike the rest of it and then went back later in the season.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the snow that you see out there is unlike anything I've ever seen on the East Coast.
Oh, wow. I'm a little loud there. Sorry.
Massive snow bridges and things going over creeks and stuff. It's just insane.
Snow bridges over creeks sounds simultaneously fun and terrifying.
Yeah, it can be at times, because some of them are not very thick, and it's okay, do I really want to try to cross this?
Wow, and these aren't man-made structures either. This is just something that occurs naturally, right? Similar to the way lava tubes form, except these are still active.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wow, we should do a whole hour about just the PCT sometime, because I could pick your brain for probably longer than that. Like, I don't even know, like, okay, here's how uninformed I am about the PCT. I know it goes from Mexico to Canada, but I don't know the start points. I don't know what they're called and why they're there. Like, what's the significance?
All right.
Like, I don't even know the name. Like, you know, we know Springer and Katahdin. We can just rattle that off, you know. But
yeah. So the PCT starts in Campo, California, which is right by the Mexican border. Like, they're just you're literally at the border. There's a fence there with like the border patrol and stuff.
Like, you could touch it.
And yeah. And then it ends essentially in Manning Park up in Canada. Manning Park is actually 8 miles, I believe, north of the northern terminus, which is, just outside of, I can't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, the Canadian border is a lot different. You know, it's so remote out there. There's, you know, no fences or anything. It's just kind of the trees just have a gap in them, like a 10-foot gap that kind of just goes up and over the mountains. So you can, you know, kind of see that there is some semblance of a border there.
Yeah. It's a popular snowmobiling trail in the wintertime from what I hear.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
If you're into that sort of thing. Okay. So Campo to Manning is what I would say if someone asked me where I was going, if I was hiking on the PCT. And they're a little more forgiving about people not doing the whole thing there too, either. About, you know, like, it's pretty much a given that you're going to miss some sections because something's either always on fire or frozen.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Mazama. Mazama is the name of the town. The last town on the U.S. side. That's like the closest town to the PCT, which is, oh God, what's the name of the pass? I don't know, but it's about 30 miles south of the border. So anyway, but yes, you are correct about skipping on the PCT. I think on the AT, a lot of people are like purists and things, and, you know, I'm going to hike every single foot. On the PCT, it seems like one continuous footpath kind of thing, because there's no real way. I mean, depending on what time of year you're hiking, to actually follow the trail, you know, strictly by the book, because with all the snow and stuff, or fire closures and things like that, you end up, you know, either walking off trail and then looking at your GPS and being like, oh crap, it's all the way over there. Or, you know, oh man, we got to take this, like, you know, fire alternate route the next, I don't know, 50, 70 miles or whatever, depending on how big the fire is.
I think Megan's been sitting there eating something while we've been chatting. Not that I could.
That makes two of us.
Not that I can hear you chewing, but you know, Megan's like a Megan's like a toddler. If she's quiet, I know she's up to something. What the hell is that?
That's me. Up to no good.
How's it going?
Going.
It's been a while since we've had the whole crew together. I feel like we should.
I know, it has been a while.
We should celebrate in some way. I don't know how, but we should.
Right, by talking about leave no trace ethics.
Oh, you want to just like jump right into it?
Not if you don't want to.
Oh, I mean, I guess we could. I mean,
talking about the PCT and make this a PCT episode.
Well, you know, we like to keep people.
Fine, I'll just put my notes off to the side.
We like to keep the listeners on their toes. Wait, hold on a second. Hold the phone. Did you just say notes? Did you say notes?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. I made notes.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I can tell. I mean, like you don't even. Usually, there's at least a little bit of, you know, like, oh, how was your day? You know, or what's for dinner tonight? You know, nice to see you. Nope, we're getting right to it.
There we go.
Straight into
there
poop.
We go.
We're gonna jump right into it.
Poop is number 2 on the list. 3, actually.
It is. Well, it
3.
sounds.
Well, we have other stuff to talk about. But hey, Gary, what are you drinking tonight?
Oh, this same thing I'm always drinking. A Citradelic by New Belgium, which is a tangerine IPA. Which which tastes a bit like and smells a bit like weed. I think we talked about this before. The first time I had one on tap, Katie thought that I stepped outside to smoke, and I'm having having a citradelic.
Is it supposed to smell like that? Like, is it advertised as such?
Man, is Travis here? Travis said he was going to jump on. Travis actually used to work on a hops farm, and there's some chemical reason why hops and weed smell and taste so similar. They're in the same. I don't know if it's genus or I'm a little off.
Family.
I'm a little off on my biology, but the plants themselves are closely related. And
that's logical.
Yeah, if Travis were here, he could tell us more. But what are you
Okay.
drinking? What are you drinking tonight, Megan?
Kombucha.
Uh-oh, you're doing that thing again where we only catch the last half of what you're saying. You're banished.
Son of a bitch.
You're banished to the test your microphone channel, which we created just for situations like this. Go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It's weird. We hear all the stuff that we don't want to.
What about now?
Yeah.
What about now?
So far, so good.
Now.
So far, so good. Why don't you give us a long?
I'm drinking kombucha.
Oh.
It's blue Bernie instead of blueberry. Blue Bernie kombucha.
Is that like a New Hampshire thing?
Actually, it's in a growler. Like I can get it from a variety of different health-ish food stores.
Now, is that anything at all like mate?
Kombucha is like fermented tea.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there's nothing like mate.
No, nothing like mate. Mate is like, it's been a long time since I've had like a mate drink, but just mate, not like any of the mate flavored drinks, is, if I remember, kind of like bitter, despite it being a liquid drink.
Uh-huh.
Are we talking about yerba mate? Like the type of drink that the people at the Yellow Deli hand out to all the hikers?
You're talking about mate with just a dash of prehistoric misogyny? Yes, we are.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I'm not having.
Yeah,
man.
It's like a chai tea, isn't it? Yerba mate?
No, because chai is a spice blend, and mate is like an actual species. I don't know if it's mate or yerba mate. I think I googled it. I know what I'm talking about. Yerba mate is a species of Ilex paras. I'm not gonna say that. Own species of plant. Comes up as being chimarrón, a traditional South American caffeine-rich infused drink. So when I hear mate, I don't think yerba mate, which is that shit you can buy at the store, like in a can. I think mate, and it's drunk out of a gourd.
Ah, okay.
My first introduction was in like a Spanish class years and years and years ago. The dried leaves of the yerba mate plant, which I was talking about earlier, in hot water, and it's served in like a gourd as opposed to like the stuff that you can buy on the shelves. I'm pretty sure that has like other flavors in it. Like it is yerba mate tea, but I think it has other stuff in it. Aluminum can, it probably has more than just tea. That's just like a good general assumption to make.
Okay.
I don't think you're wrong with that one.
I could be wrong, but I mean, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong about what the hell kombucha is, but I'm pretty sure it's just like a fermented tea drink that's flavored with stuff. And the reason I like it kind of tastes like vinegar, honestly, because it's fermented.
So is it fermented? That was my next question. Is it fermented in the same sense as, vinegar or, technically like a sourdough, or is it fermented like it'll fuck you up if you drink a couple of them?
a couple. You have to drink like a lot. It's very, very slightly alcoholic. Like you can drink this while driving and it's not a problem. It's fully legal because it's so little. It's not even on the label.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, is it something that you would order like at a bar? Or is it age restricted alcohol?
No, it's something you would get at a hipster bar mixed in with vodka or something.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
In at a hipster sort of bar, I've seen a kombucha like martini or something like that on the menu. No, kombucha is like it's very, very slightly effervescent. Like it's not super bubbly and carbonated, but because it's fermented, it's effervescent, kind of like acidic and vinegary, and it's typically flavored. And I like it because I like to drink fruit juices in the morning because I like something strongly acidic first thing in the morning, even before coffee. And fruit juices tend to have too much sugar. Kombucha is like what I do instead. I'm sure there's sugar in it. I have no idea how much, but I feel like it's less.
All right.
I could be wrong.
Okay.
Wrong in the chat. Although honestly, I don't really care. I don't want to know.
All right.
I really don't want to know. I don't want to know how much sugar I'm drinking.
I would guess a lot by how many words you have spoken in the last minute and a half. I don't know if there's any sugar in this thing, but I think around maybe some sugar.
Guys, there's a lot of caffeine running through my system.
Wow.
Right now.
So speaking of mate and the Yellow Deli, regardless of what you think about the Yellow Deli, I saw them recently. The
Yellow Deli in general, or
yeah, you know that
they're everywhere. They are. I saw them on the PCT.
That big crazy bus that they drive around. I don't know if you've seen this thing. I'm sure
maybe somebody can.
Is it a yellow bus? I assumed it was.
Maybe
yellow.
Someone can find a picture of that bus and put it in the chat because it's really cool. But I mean, it is. It's the kind of thing that like you see it from a quarter mile away, and you just think there's no signage on it that you can see. Because I think like the very back of it has something printed on it that's rather innocuous. It doesn't say who they are, but you see this bus and you just think you think, okay, Prince drives this, or if Prince were alive. It's just so ostentatious. It's like a 3-story triple-decker bus that it looks like it's sleek.
It looks like a spaceship.
It does. It's like the Starship Enterprise or some kind of.
I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Okay, I'm doing a terrible job of describing this thing. Boom! Look at that.
Sign on the mirror, welcome, please come in.
Yeah, if Elvis Presley designed a land-based shuttle vehicle for a Star Trek spin-off, it would be the Yellow Deli bus.
After an Airstream.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say? The thing's about 100 feet long. It looks like the kind of thing that,
like the size of a tour bus, like a big tour bus that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they pulled that thing up to the parking spaces across from the visitor center at Amicalola Falls, where the campsite is, where Tent City is, during the AT kickoff. Was that last weekend? I guess that was 2 weekends ago, almost week and a half ago. The thing makes a lot of noise. They got to leave the engine running so that the electricity can, either that or it's got a generator. They've got like
That's
a full,
good for the environment.
Full kitchen in there, but they were basically on a recruiting mission. And I remember year before last, they pulled that thing up at like right at the front door to Amicalola Lodge, where everybody was hanging out for the kickoff. And they weren't registered or anything; they just like showed up and were like, "Hey, we're gonna try to talk to lost souls and bring them on board the bus and never let them off, whatever it is they do on there."
God,
but, they got chased off. They got chased off 2 years ago, but they came back this year and they only stopped in front of the parking in front of the campsite, the Tent City, for like an hour, and then drove off. So I don't know where they came from or where they went, but it was weird seeing them there.
Because the plates on this bus are New Hampshire plates.
There you go. Yeah.
A picture of the back of the bus. It's really hard to read the writing.
But other than that, the kickoff was, there's a picture of the back of the bus. Yeah. What's it say on there?
Away will bring you home.
We know the way will bring you home. That's it. Yeah.
And it has a website for the 12 tribes, which if anybody didn't know that, that's like the Yellow Deli.
That is
colloquial
cool.
name for the 12 tribes.
Yeah, the 12 tribes is the name of of their actual organization. And Yellow Deli is just that restaurant that they have in Rutland. And a few other locations. But maybe
them enough air
time. So maybe we'll do an entire show on just the Yellow Deli at some point. Like we'll do some investigative reporting. We'll
if we can make it investigative reporting, I'm all about
right,
that.
Here's how, okay.
I actually sat down and interviewed like the head guy at the Yellow Deli and talked to him about, what the 12 tribes were and stuff like that.
Was it Aish who you talked to?
Yes, that's exactly who it was.
Yeah, he's.
Did you record the conversation?
Yep, it's all on video.
Is this on your YouTube channel?
No, it's kind of one of those videos that I shot on the AT, but I never released it.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a really awkward interview, because I'm trying to be polite because I'm staying at the Yellow Deli, but at the same point in time, I'm like, hey, can you tell me about this really creepy cult you guys are running? Right. And he's like, he's just like, yeah, I'd rather not answer that question.
Did you phrase it exactly like that? How did you?
Well, of course not. But it was basically like, so can you tell me about like the religious aspects of the Yellow Deli and things like that, and what's the reasoning behind you separating men and women in the hostel and things like that?
Okay, and I bet there was some really interesting conversation there. That's maybe something. Yeah, we could put together an investigative report style episode where we use Reptar's on the ground live footage interview style. Megan, you're still of childbirthing age, right? We can braid your hair.
I am indeed.
Put you in a homemade cotton skirt and
undercover.
You can pluck some chickens and set the table, right? That's right. No talking. Megan's microphone is on mute because she's in the Yellow Deli now. God. No speaking.
You not hear me groaning over here about how awful that would be?
Yeah, that does sound terrible. Okay, so I'm being a little sarcastic here, and I'm going a little over the top with with my comments. But
oh, really? I mean,
maybe.
Is it really that over the top though?
I don't know.
Is it? I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, Aish is an interesting guy. I sat down with him at Trail Days year before last, I think. And there's a whole chapter in Where's the Next Shelter about the Yellow Deli. Well, it's about other things, but like our experience at the Yellow Deli is kind of the backdrop for that part of the story. But he asked me, he said, well, what did you write about me? Did you say, or about me? He said, what did you write about us? Did you portray us in a positive light or in a negative light? And I said, well, the trail community is kind of split 50-50 on you. There's a lot of people who are like, hell yeah, you got to stay at this place. It's amazing. And then other people say, you have to avoid it on principle because what they stand for is abhorrent. And, I told him this. I said it's 50-50 split. And the way I approached that was to have, I say quote characters because they're real people, but through their dialogue, in our experiences express both, both viewpoints so that both sides of that story did get out. But I also made it clear which side I fell on. You can probably kind of tell by, by my color commentary here how I feel about him.
And if you want to hear more, pick up Gary's book on Amazon. Where's the Next Shelter?
Thanks, Megan. That wasn't where I was going.
You're already talking about it and referencing it. Not everybody's read your book, but they should.
All right, cool. That's gonna be our commercial for the middle of the show.
Commercial.
Yeah, so we're gonna spend the first half of the show just talking about things that are completely off topic. Second half of the show, we're supposed to talk about the AT kickoff, and then the third half of the show, we've got some Leave No Trace stuff. So we're not going to
be able to fit all of that in.
Let's condense our AT kickoff to about 30 more seconds, and then I'll give you the I'll give you the floor for Leave No Trace. But AT kickoff was awesome. Yellow Deli showed up for a couple of minutes. That was weird, but we had a really good time. Katie and I stayed at the campsite, which is right across the street from the visitor center where the arch is. Like right behind that building, they have their classes and their shakedown hikes, and there's that stone arch that you always see, and people begin their hikes right there. Right across the street from that is a pretty kick-ass campsite that there's a stream that runs through it that you could practically step over the stream. There's a little wooden footbridge that takes you 2 or 3 steps over the stream. That stream is the bottom of Amicalola Falls. So you see the picture of this giant waterfall that's like, who knows how tall it is, like 300 feet or whatever. It's just a tiny little trickle at the bottom that you could just step over. It's really kind of amazing. But just a second. It's getting a little dry mouth. No one wants to hear that. So, you drive up from the campsite. Probably about, I would say like between 40 and 50 people camped out at Tent City this year, which is about average. So you think about trail days being this huge thing with, thousands and thousands of people and a parade and a stage and a talent show. Tent City is maybe 50 people, and the fire ring is just big enough that, standing 2 or 3 people deep, you can get about 20 or 30 people around it. So it's not, it's not anything super crazy. It's actually a pretty relaxed, family-friendly atmosphere. And you just drive up this road. It's maybe a quarter of a mile to get to the top where Amicalola Falls Lodge is. Or maybe it's just Amicalola Lodge, I think is the real name of the place. But that's the building where they have all of the, quote unquote events, which is a pretty casual setting. This thing's it's not that huge. They've got, like banquet style rooms where, you can pull the dividers in between them to make it either 3 small rooms or like 1 big long room with projectors and tables and chairs and stuff for, depending on how big the presentations are. Odie gave a fantastic welcome speech on Friday night. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to listen to that. I think it was episode before last, number 27 or 28 or something like that. Might have been 29 was Odie's welcome speech to ATKO. Probably about 50 people in the room. And it's always fun to watch Odie speak because he gets so nervous before he goes on. He walks around and like just hugs random people and then says, "Look, I'm leaving. I'm just going to leave the building. I can't do it.
It's a great way of dealing with his anxiety, just hugging people.
Yeah. But then he starts talking and you can hear like 30 seconds in, he's just so, just relaxed and it's like he's among friends and family because he is. And he gives this great presentation, and that was awesome. Saturday was full of things like that too. Different workshops, gear clinics. Judy Heartfire Gross gave a good talk about dehydrating food. I think that was our last episode that came out. I think we're just going to do boom, boom, boom. As far as what's on the podcast feed, they're going to get, AT kickoff 3 episodes in a row. Then we'll start putting our live episodes back up behind them. But, the last thing that you guys haven't heard yet was the panel that we recorded on Saturday afternoon. And this was kind of an improv thing when Heather Abercrombie, who doesn't organize the event anymore, she handed it off while it was being organized this year. But she reached out to me and asked me what I wanted to do. And every year I've been given the same talk over and over again, like 3 years in a row. And I just wanted to do something different. So I set up some tables, and I wanted to do like a panel style, not necessarily an interview, but almost like a round table discussion, but with a rectangular table. And I wanted to just kind of like put like story prompts and talking points just like out into the air and get 4 different perspectives on the same thing. And we had sitting at the table with us a veteran trail angel, Miss Janet was with us. Turnaround, who you have heard on the show before. He's the guy that did his AT flip-flop last year. A good friend of mine, Chris Clevenger, he was on there for the perspective of a recent finisher. We had Chuck Norris of Laughing Heart Hostel to give us perspectives from a hostel owner's point of view. And then we had a brand new hiker, someone who is starting the trail. I think her start date is like this week or next week, but she was just hanging out at the kickoff to like get her her first taste of the trail community. So what do? We sit her on a table in front of her room and thrust a microphone in her face and ask her questions. But yeah, she's actually used to being in the spotlight. She's a YouTuber. Her name is Rachel. Her channel is Hiking with Arrow. Arrow is her dog, who is really a sweet little puppers. And we had a really good talk. And that's going to be the next episode that I think is going to come out tomorrow, which is March the 14th. So if you're a podcast subscriber, by the time you're hearing this, you will have already heard that. But if you're in the chat room with us live, it's going to happen in the future. So time travel. Woo. Yeah. Oh, and Daniel was there too. Daniel and Deidre, and we all had a great time, and it was fun. And
like fun.
Yep.
What was the weather like?
I missed it.
Oh man. So yeah, it was really, really nice weather. It had just finished raining when we showed up on Friday afternoon. So the field was a little soggy, but it never rained on us the whole time. And it was one of those nights where, you didn't really need your rain fly. You could almost cowboy camp. I think it was like overnight was low to middle 40s. Upper 50s, 60s during the day. Georgia, northern Georgia, first week of spring, the flowers are already like full bloom. Trees are starting to turn green. The
flowers down there?
Yep. Our daffodils came up this week.
Spring is springing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
At Springer.
Exactly.
Speak for yourselves.
Yeah. Megan, how many feet of snow do you have?
Any snow recently? I mean, by that I mean today or yesterday. I drove through some snow a couple days ago. There's still snow on the ground.
I'm sorry.
I think there's more in the forecast. I don't know. I stopped looking. I no longer pay attention to whether or not it's going to snow. I just deal with it as it comes. Roll with the punches,
You're kind of a badass like that.
Yeah, or I just, don't want to be depressed for 4 days when I'm expecting a snowstorm. I'd like to avoid that.
Man, I forget what snow is like.
We are going to have weather like this weekend or towards the end of the week that's getting up close to the 50s. I think high 40s, maybe into the 50s. That's like, whew.
Shorts and t-shirt right there.
It is shorts and t-shirt weather. In fact, it was 35 today. I was like, I'm not wearing a jacket.
All right. Well,
it's above freezing. Why bother putting on a coat? The bit rate for this channel, can we change it from 96 to 64?
Oh, why?
Because it says that going above 64 is not recommended unless you're an audiophile, because it will adversely affect people on mobile devices or poor connections without noticeable benefit. Those people with poor connections.
I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Let's test it after the show or before, like
after
just on
show?
some off day.
So you don't want me to just bring everything to a screeching halt to fuck with the bit rate of the show.
I think if we do that right now, it's going to be a problem. Since we're using it's a little bit like changing the tires on the car without pulling over.
They do that in the NASCAR thing all the time. I don't know.
Maybe we barely. I think 2 weeks ago we forgot to press record at one point. We're not NASCAR level.
I think we're NASCAR level.
We're not quite there yet.
Okay, well, it was just something I discovered. I didn't even know what it was until I just discovered it now. So I figured I'd ask the question.
So we're not at NASCAR level, but we're not big time, but we are medium time. In that
are we like a hometown derby sort of level?
We're like the county fair. Is what we are.
Get the monster truck, guys.
We're going to talk about ultralight gear, and then how much ultralight gear can your monster truck pull through the mud?
I got a 6-inch lift kit on this puppy.
So there were a bunch of gear vendors and storytellers at the kickoff, and what would you call ALDHA? They're certainly not a gear vendor. They're
ALDHA?
Yeah,
ALDHA is an organization.
Definitely.
It's
Oh, go ahead. They're an association. It's in their name. Yeah, Ron Berger is in charge of outreach for ALDHA, and he handed me an ALDHA tote bag full of some goodies and said, give this to someone on the show. And what's in this bag that I've got here? So there's a tote bag. So we're going to do this NPR style. We have a tote bag with the ALDHA logo on it. And you can hear the phones. The phones are just lighting up like crazy now. We've got, if I look at the big board here, so we've got a tote bag.
Standing by.
This tote bag is perfect for like if you go to the groceries and you bag your own groceries, like it's one of those kind of things. Like I wouldn't want to put too much in this, but I would put a few cans of soup, and maybe I could see like one of those long baguettes, like hanging out the
bunch
top of it.
Kale, some kombucha.
Kale, some kombucha. Yeah, like you could probably put about 2 days worth of resupply in this tote bag and not harm the environment. What's in this bag? We have there's a water bottle. It's it's a Nalgene water bottle. It looks like
Is it BPA free?
I think they all are now. So we've got this Nalgene bottle, and we have an ALDHA shirt, and this is a tech tee, so it is a moisture wicking material. This is not a cotton shirt. And I have a picture of it.
Size is this tech
it's
tee?
An extra large black T-shirt with the ALDHA logo on it, and on the back it says ALDHA Cares. So
a men's Care. Extra large, or like one of those unisex extra larges.
You were going to ask me this. Hang on a second. Hold on, the shirt is kicking my ass.
Are you gonna take a picture of yourself wearing the shirt?
No, actually, I have a picture already of Katie holding this up, but I forgot to upload it in a shareable format for the.
You're gonna have to take a picture.
You're gonna have
of
to
yourself,
describe
Gary.
it. Picture. No, just use your imagination. Imagine a black T-shirt. There you go. Except it's made out of that material that we as hikers all like. And there's a bunch of other stuff in here too. There's a bunch of hiking patches and things you can sew onto your pack. There's a bumper sticker that says Hike in Harmony. I want to give these to someone, but I don't know. I haven't really put a lot of thought into how we're going to give these things away. So maybe think about that for a second. And I'll tell you what else we got is Etowah Gear was there. And Etowah Gear is an outfitter that makes tarp tents. So we have in my bag of goodies here, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. I've got a bunch of little trinkets. I think what we're going to do is spread this out over a few shows, like just give away a few things each episode. We've got a bunch of small stuff, and we're going to gradually work up to. I've got a tarp tent here. This is going to be our grand prize. This is an Etowah Gear ultra light sill nylon tarp. 8x10. This thing weighs 13 ounces.
Nice.
Yeah, and this is a fully usable shelter too. Like this is something you would definitely spend the night under. And then the other one,
retail price, retail value.
I have that too, but I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Gary, are you throwing a few books into the pot as well as prizes?
Oh, hello there, Fozzie. Wow, listen to how good you sound.
Many apologies for my lateness, but I have a very good excuse. I think apparently your clocks went back a couple of days ago.
Oh,
am I correct in saying that?
Right.
Yeah.
They went forward.
Okay, forward. I always get it. I always get it the wrong way around. So I kind of logged on as usual with sort of 30 minutes to spare for full preparation and realised I'm actually an hour late.
So, no, actually, I think you are 23 and a half hours early for tomorrow's recording.
Okay. Well,
I like that.
Either way, apologies, but hopefully the sound is much better this week. Is it much better?
You sound awesome.
Sounds good.
Good. I'm pleased.
Yeah, I just want to hear you just do the rest of the show for us, actually, if you don't mind.
That's not going to happen.
Oh.
So are you throwing a few books in as prizes? Because I'm kind of catching up with what's going on here. Is there some of your books in there as prizes?
So actually, my books are actually rewards for some of our patrons who we actually picked up quite a few new patrons this month who I owe gifts and rewards to, and I am way behind on that, mostly because of the kickoff and real world stuff. But I'm going to get caught up on that for real. No, actually, Fozzie, we were just saying I went to the AT kickoff a couple weekends ago, and some of the gear vendors gave us some swag to give away to our listeners. And I was just kind of going through what's in the goodie bag here. and we were about to wrap up with the ultimate grand prize is, and I just dropped it and I can't reach it. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Again, this is from Etowah Gear, and this is a multi-use survival tarp, 5x8 camo green. Another one of these seal tarps, ultralight. I put this thing on the scale today, and this is 5x8 tarp with 6 stakes, 50 feet of cord. This is just under 18.5 ounces. So we got a couple of ultralight shelters to give away. I think we might hang on.
Prize.
I think we're gonna hang on to those for a couple of weeks. Like maybe tonight we'll do a random drawing for some of the smaller stuff, but we can figure that out and maybe decide how we're gonna do it at the end of the show. But that was all I had on that. I feel like I should play some music, like do 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 do. I don't know.
Hopefully
we're gonna have to. Yeah. I think so. I think like as we get better at this, and like as the chat room and the live audience continues to grow, we might have to incorporate a soundboard and bumpers and like try not to get too much like wacky morning radio DJ bullshit. But
is there somewhere you can go for kind of like jingles and stuff, as we call them over here? Is there like a website where you can download these sort of things?
Oh yeah, there's tons of stuff like that. For now, I just have this. This is the only sound effect we have. That bell.
Whatever sound effects come out of our faces.
That's it. So, hey, speaking of the sounds that come out of our faces and Patreon, so those of you who were on the line with us 2 weeks ago, remember we were making some jokes about Fozzie being piloting a twin prop open cockpit airplane while we were recording. Thanks to the support of actual patrons of the show, people who are crazy enough to actually, for some reason, I don't like to say donate, but contribute to support the show. Those things go to things like making Fozzie sound better. So you're welcome. I mean, thank you. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was, in case anybody still wonders what the hell we're talking about, I have a new microphone. I did used to speak into my iPhone, which was presenting all sorts of problems. So I have a brand spanking new microphone in front of me. I was hoping for one of those, what do they call them, dead mouses or dead mice on the top, those big furry grey things.
Clown nose.
But it's kind of a black sponge thing. Anyway, it looks very professional, and I feel kind of like a DJ.
DJ Fozzie.
Yeah, so thank you very much for sending that over. It's highly appreciated.
Lay down a beat.
And obviously working.
Sock, Gary? Isn't this thing called a sock?
I've heard it called all sorts of things. Sock, clown nose.
Would like one. Mine is also the black spongy thing. I would like one that looks more like a dead animal.
I think the dead animal one's not for like when it's kind of windy to cutting the wind noise out. Is that what they use for?
It's probably for some other reason. I think these ones, the black spongy ones, are meant to prevent the popping that happens with the peas, that sort of thing.
Yes.
I always thought it was a moisture thing to prevent sort of moisture from the breath getting in the electronics on the microphone, but obviously I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, that's the only one piece of information I know about this little sock doodad. So it could have multiple. But I think the furry one that looks like an animal, is that one's more for wind?
That's what I think, yeah.
That's exactly what it's for. I have one on my condenser mic.
I should start doing my recordings from a wind tunnel so I can get one of those and try it out. Those ones
they also look way more professional.
You'd also hear me doing like this. You'd hear this all show because I would be like petting my microphone. I don't have a pet, so what would end up happening?
Perhaps we could give them names, like our microphone furry things. Perhaps we could give them names.
Could talk to my microphone. Wow.
Hey,
and if you did stroke it, it was working.
Sad and lonely.
If you did stroke it and it was working properly, just think people wouldn't actually know you're stroking it because it wouldn't sound. There'd be no sound because it would block it out.
That's true.
If you could talk to your microphone, what would you say?
I love you so much. I don't know.
Look at the time, guys. I really got to get going.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we are.
I'm glad we're already scaring you away.
Yeah. We've actually covered some of the things that we did have an agenda when we came in here. There were three things that we wanted to talk about, and we talked about one of them. Wait, one of them or two of them? What was on our list? Who has the list?
I have a list, but it's leave no trace only.
Let's do that.
We did talk about the kickoff, and there was something else you wanted to talk about that we did.
Let's see. Oh yeah, we know the kickoff, the things we were going to give away, the gear and prizes, and leave no trace. So now we just need some kind of clever transition to get us on topic for leave no trace, or we can edit one in later.
I have no good transition, but hey guys, we're going to talk about poop again.
Oh,
yay!
That's one that we need a sound effect for.
Exactly.
Just like a toilet bowl flushing.
That would be a good one.
That's a great idea.
We need the sound of someone dropping a handful of leaves down a composting privy.
Maybe a fart.
I really edit in like either a fart or like a toilet flushing.
Wait a minute, he doesn't have to edit in a fart. I got one of those.
Oh no!
Oh boy!
Oh, is there a way for me to turn off Fozzie's microphone? No.
Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. We won't go down there.
Off the rails! Oh my goodness, this is one for the ages. Actually, this is good stuff. I like it.
Okay, Gary, just basically, when you find out when you're going to buy your jingles or whatever, don't buy the fart jingle, because I'm sure we can save a bit of money on that one and supply it.
Oh, I'm convinced we could make our own, definitely.
Okay.
And once we do, whoever supplies those, we have to have them in the credits, like sound effects by
Farts by Fozzie.
Fart by Fozzie. Oh, well.
All right. Does anyone? Okay.
Let's talk about Leave No Trace.
All right. Hey, let's do that, shall we?
What a smooth segue.
Oh, wow. That was a really interesting segue. Yes. I am certainly glad that Reptar said that thing that he said 1 second ago.
You sound so natural, Gary. So natural.
Not as natural as Fozzie farting into a microphone.
Oh, God.
On to the Leave No Trace subject. I was reading something somewhere this week about tea bags on the trail. I know tea bags aren't as big in the States as they are in England, but I know a lot of people do use tea bags on trail. Now, I admit that I did used to throw my tea bag once I've used it in the undergrowth, because I was under the assumption that it is biodegradable, and as far as I know, they are biodegradable. But the conversation was that anything that shouldn't be there, even if it is biodegradable, shouldn't be thrown out there, which was kind of an interesting thing. And I must admit, it's not something I'd thought of, so I'd be curious to opinions on the teabag throwing thing. Is that a good thing, do you think, or is it not a good thing?
I get to teabagging.
What? What?
Oh, boy.
So I know we do put tea bags in our compost, but we also
I do.
Yeah, but we also that's also like a fully functioning compost with like worms and other food. I think if you just throw a tea bag under a bush, out in some place where tea doesn't grow, I don't know. I think maybe you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, that's I think what the gist of the conversation was, and it's a good point. It's something I hadn't thought of, I must admit, and it did. Well, put it this way: I won't be throwing my tea bags under bushes anymore.
I'm just thinking of all of the out of context potential from that sentence
alone. There's coffee as well.
Trying really hard.
There's coffee grounds. I mean, does this mean we have to carry coffee grounds out as well? I guess it does mean that.
Well, in the same vein of that, I think that just applies to everything. Anything you bring in with you, you should bring it out. Like even, orange peels and stuff like that. I always see orange peels on the trail. And it's like, just throw it in your little trash bag, I don't know.
Well, it sounds like Megan has a
more
list.
Than just trash.
There is something that, there is something that says to me like, okay, another classic example is banana skins. Now, banana skins can kind of look a little bit unsightly, but if I go for a walk over here in the UK, if I have a banana with me, I will leave the banana skin out there. I will hide it. I won't kind of like leave it in the middle of the trail. I'll throw it in the undergrowth. But my thinking behind that is it's kind of like going back to the earth. That banana skin's going to give the earth a little bit of nourishment. Now, okay, bananas aren't native to the UK. But even then, is that a bad thing? To me, that's kind of giving something back,
Well, I personally, I understand where you're coming from, and I, kind of agree that it's like, okay, it's perishable. Why not? But if, for the real LNT Nazis out there, the thing is, you're not just harming the environment, it's the whole ecosystem. So the animals that live in that environment, the insects and things like that, you're altering habits or day-to-day life of the environment, which would be considered a trait, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think I've learned something this evening. A good thing, I think.
And so what you guys have just been talking about has touched upon a couple different tenets of Leave No Trace. Like taken a Leave No Trace class or gone on the Leave No Trace website?
I actually will be, next week? Or I think awesome. The end of the month, actually.
On Leave No Trace?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a little certified program and everything.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Leave No Trace does do classes, and you can find a lot of information on their website at lnt.org. It's like what they used to do on PBS. lnt.org.
Hey, if you could stay that close to your microphone for the rest of your life, that would make the show so much better.
I was about to say, that really? Sounded amazing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
not even kidding.
Can I just listen to Megan talk now?
Okay. Well, now that I have my face like right up in my microphone, we're getting real close and personal. Now I understand why Fozzie thought that the sock thing was for moisture.
Well, don't do what Daniel does to the microphone.
It's so close to my face. Anywho,
okay, no kid. If you don't mind, you like sidebars. If you don't mind, like about 50% of my editing is gone now. Like I would spend so much time removing echo from Fozzie and boosting the volume on your voice. This makes life so much easier. Not even kidding.
No,
Sorry.
You had to boost the volume on my voice.
I've always had to.
I just assumed that was so loud that was not a problem.
I just thought you were.
I'm coming crystal clear from the UK this week. Crystal clear.
It's like you're in the next room.
I'm getting up close and personal with this mic.
You're seriously, that sounds really good. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go on.
No, it's fine.
That's fine. So yeah, lnt.org.
You're a little loud. You're just a little loud now. Just a tiny little.
Okay, let me back up a little bit and adjust my volume. How's this?
Perfect.
Okay. Leave No Trace. When we talk about Leave No Trace, I think a lot of people think about pooping, and they think a lot about trash. And as we were talking about that, trash and wildlife, those are big tenets of Leave No Trace. But Leave No Trace has their own 7 tenets. Took some notes. I want to let you guys know what those 7 are, and then we can dive into any or all of them. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. So the very first one is plan ahead and prepare. Number 2, travel and camp on a durable surface. Is dispose of waste properly. 4 is leave what you find. 5 is minimizing campfire impact, protecting wildlife, and 7 is being considerate of other visitors. So that covers a lot more than just pooping and trash. And I think sometimes we overlook a lot of the other stuff. But the to your point earlier, Fozzie, the thing about the banana peels, and Reptar, to your point too, the banana peels are biodegradable, but at the same time, they are a human food source, and if we leave them in the woods for animals to get them, then we're interfering with the wildlife.
Yeah, I see.
One of our food scraps in an area where animals don't typically get that human food scrap, we're violating disposing of waste properly and respecting wildlife. But it's a good idea for anybody who's going out into the woods or just being out in nature to have a general understanding of this, and just it's like feeding birds bread. It's like one of those things, like a lot of these places they say don't feed the birds. Like it's like seagulls. I used to be a lifeguard for the longest time. We said don't feed the seagulls, and the reason is they'll shit on everything and they'll start getting aggressive. Be on a beach where there's seagulls shitting on everything, and they're like right up in your face trying to take your chips.
That's the gray jays on the PCT. Like, people feed the gray jays out there, and oh my god, if you sit down to eat in some places, you'll just have a swarm of gray jays dive bombing you. It's crazy. And
the reason that happens is because people are doing what they see as being nice and giving animals food, but those animals aren't used to that food. That's not what they normally eat. That's not the way that they normally obtain their food. So, and the other thing about that is, bears. That's how bears end up getting put down, because people are, leaving human food out or something, and the bears get acclimated to, the human food. So they keep wandering around camp to say, hey, what you got in that picnic basket, boo-boo? And then, end up getting a little touchy-feely, and then the rangers have to come out and either relocate them or, put them down, depending on how aggressive they are.
In the bear's defense, have you guys tried human food? It's really good.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know what they're doing.
I remember when I did the PCT. I wasn't there at the time, but there was 5 people I knew that were around camp, and they had a bear come round and it stole a lot of food overnight. And when they realised in the morning, one of the girls kind of grabbed her food bag, which was a few feet away from her tent, and it had taken or eaten all of her food. But do you know what it left? The one item it left? A pack of ramen.
Even bears don't want to eat it.
Even bears know that it has little to no nutritional value.
If ever you needed proof about ramen, then there you have it.
Oh goodness. Should we go through each of these ones? Do we have enough time to actually talk about each of these, Gary?
Depends on how much detail you want to go into. I think it's worth at least mentioning. There's 7, right? Talk about
there's
them for
7.
a minute.
We can be quick.
And then that leaves us with 13 minutes to talk about poop some more.
Oh, don't worry. We will definitely get to poop. Poop is number 3 on our list.
Go for it.
So back up to the top of that list. The first one was plan ahead and prepare. And that's pretty simple and easy. And I don't think we have to talk. Do we have to talk about that one all that much? People know to plan ahead and prepare, right?
Well, yeah, I guess that's just educate yourself before you go, isn't it? Educate yourself what you got to do.
One thing
it's
I will
thinking of
say,
what's the most extreme thing, and making sure that you're prepared for the most extreme thing to happen.
What would be the most extreme thing? Waking up in the morning with just one packet of ramen? Would that be the most extreme situation?
Reptar, it sounded like you had something.
Yeah, in the preparation stage, I think a lot of times you'll see videos of people talking about that they're bringing a food bag, but what you don't see is people talking about just having another little Ziploc bag for the trash. And I think that, unless you want a bunch of trash in your food bag, that's one way you could prepare to at least set yourself up for leave no trace success.
Yeah, Ziploc bags are good as well because you don't get any. You tend to not get any spillage, especially oily stuff. Like occasionally, I used to buy like a little can of fish or something, and you know what oil's like; it always gets everywhere. But if it's in a Ziploc, hopefully it's going to stay in there. So Ziploc bag, big Ziploc bag, good idea, great idea.
Yep. So planning.
And one of the other things that goes into planning ahead too is making sure that you know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
You understand the area, you know what the weather is going to be, you dress for that weather. It's like the time I hiked Mount Washington this last summer, and there were some kids hiking in like tennis shoes and jeans. They didn't plan ahead and prepare.
Oh, certainly not.
Hiking in appropriate clothing, especially considering at elevation, with the pace that they were going at and their late start, at elevation, things get cold. And they didn't have a jacket. And I mean, they were wearing jeans for Pete's sake. You don't hike Washington in jeans. But it's one of those things where you plan ahead and prepare, not just so that you have the best experience possible, but also so that other people don't have to come save your ass.
The only thing I would add to plan and prepare would be know of any local regulations that you might have to adhere to.
Yeah.
Is there a fire closure? Is there, bear canisters required? Am I allowed to fish here? Just whatever. Just, learn the rules. That's all.
Someone who likes to hike with a gun for whatever reason, know if that's not allowed. If that's not allowed, don't bring your gun.
That was our first principle, right? Plan and prepare.
That was our first principle.
What's our second one?
Second one is travel and camp on a durable surface. So this is obviously durable surface. They just mean going where there are pre-existing campsites. It's why we have shelters on the AT. It's so that they're at a spot anywhere that they want and just tear down the forest.
And if you have to make your own campsite, look for a durable surface, right?
Surface.
Yeah. What does that mean?
And stay 200 feet from lakes or streams. You absolutely have to make your own camp.
I mean, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. If you're in a narrow valley, or you're up against a lake or something, you don't always have that choice. But at least try. Don't climb over the ridge and get yourself lost just to be a little further away from the water source.
And don't set up camp right in the middle of the trail.
God, no.
I've run into so many people that just set up camp in the middle of the trail. I'm like, what are you doing?
I have mixed feelings about that because you're interfering
Guilty.
with everybody. You're interfering with people hiking, but at the same time, like if you get yourself stuck in a spot where there are no good camping options, isn't your best bet based on the travel and camp on a durable surface? Isn't your best bet to be camping on the spot that's already trodden?
I agree. I think sometimes it happened only twice on the PCT, and that was a lot of the trails you get on the PCT. So it's literally cut into the side of a mountain. So it's the ground sloping way below you, and it's sloping upward. So the only flat spot is the trail. And sometimes you get stuck on those. It could be another 10 miles before you get to anywhere suitable. So I camped on the trail a couple of times. It was, albeit sort of late, it was 10 o'clock at night, so the chances of someone coming on the trail were pretty rare anyway. But
I feel like it's a use your judgment sort of thing,
Yeah.
If you plan to prepare, you will most likely be at a camp spot. But if you happen to be in a situation where it's too late, or you're injured, or you're going slower than you thought, and you just don't have a good camp spot, I guess maybe camp on the trail. Just get up early and don't be in the way.
Yeah, get up early and make sure you're on your way. The other thing about the AT is we all know it's riddled with campsites and shelters where people are camping. The PCT is a different story. You camp basically wherever you can, but I understand a bit about the durable. The AT,
you basically have no excuse to camp any place other than at a designated campsite or shelter. You really have no excuse other than I wanted to do this that, but that's not a good reason.
What if you get to the first shelter after Springer Mountain and there are 75 hopeful thru hikers there?
God. go to the next campsite. There's another one. It's only a couple miles away.
Right.
Did exactly that.
Yeah.
75. Holy smokes. I can't even fathom.
And please tell me that's not a real thing.
So I'm not exaggerating. And the weekend that we were there, March 1st, at Amicalola, I think 54 people left one day. Like started at the arch and left. So I mean, even if they, half of them went to the next shelter, that's still, 30 plus people if you can include, day hikers, weekenders, their friends who are starting.
Or using your best judgment comes
like,
in.
hey, I'm going to bring my friend with me for the first 3 days. Impact. You're impacting the trail. On the issue of durability, and not just the campsites as far as leave no trace goes, but durability in the actual trail itself comes into play. Last year, Katie and I took a sustainable trail building class because we've got a project. We're building a trail on our property. And we wanted to do it right. So we took a class in Pisgah National Forest about how to build trails. And one of the things they taught us, this comes from your question, Megan, about, should I use the place that's already trod upon, or should I, step off to the side and, give that place a break? Well, for purposes of erosion control, sometimes you'll see trail builders throw some branches in an X pattern across a switchback that is no longer in use or something like that. Or sometimes you'll see a new trail appear just 3 feet to the left of or right of the existing trail. And you're supposed to use the new one and leave the old one alone. And people will think, well, the new trail's already depressed. It's already beaten down. I'll just walk in that and, save, the side of it looks nice. We'll preserve that. But what winds up happening is you get places like, there's a place not too far from where we live called the Art Loeb Trail, which is a very popular trail. The Blue Ridge Parkway goes right through the middle of it. And especially the northern half of this trail is very, very popular, especially come blueberry picking season time. And the trail itself is waist deep in some places. Not like waist deep mud, but like you're walking in, like you're an X-Wing fighter going through the trenches on the Death Star. Like it's up to your waist. And that's me, and I'm a tall guy, So Katie's in up to her armpits from the trail being eroded. Right next to it, 3 feet to the left, just a little piece of trail that's just barely, you're supposed to, not use that. So they've come to closing off entire sections and rerouting around mountains. And, we've learned a lot about trail building in the last 20 or 30 years. And it's going to take, 4 or 5 times as long for the earth to repair itself. So leave no trace doesn't just apply to campsites. It applies to the trail as well. Respect trail closures and volunteer for a trail maintaining club, even for a weekend.
To learn. That's the best way to learn about how to best respect the trail, is to contribute to one of those clubs and learn from the people who do it on a daily basis.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get on a soapbox there.
That's it's a good point. It's a good point. It's a helpful soapbox, and yeah. I think we covered durable surfaces pretty well.
I think we stomped that one to death.
I think we stomped it to death. Does anybody remember what I said number 3 was?
I do, but I have the same list.
It's poop, guys. It's poop, guys. We get to talk about poop now.
Maybe we should just call it the poop show.
Oh, I needed like one more second to be ready because I had a poop sound ready to go. I was just almost ready if I knew. Hold on. There we go.
Oh man!
Wow,
that's quality.
Okay. I don't think we even need to do a rerun or another test of that. I think you nailed it first time. The duration was perfect. The volume was spot on. Brilliant.
I found that while Megan was talking.
Absolutely nailed it.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
Resume.
So I did say this one's about poop, but it's not only poop. It's dispose of waste properly. So we already kind of talked about it with trash and making sure that we don't just leave our trash wherever we go. But any human waste is a part of this, and that includes biologic waste, i.e. vacation.
Does this mean we have to pack it out?
Some places.
Well, Well, you don't have to pack it out. There are some who do, but Leave No Trace or LNT, they recommend, and everybody probably knows this, but they probably forget all the numbers. You are supposed to leave the trail or leave a water source, go away from it, and the space or the distance you're supposed to go is 200 feet. 200 feet away from the trail, a water source, and a campsite.
200 feet.
Dig your cat hole. 200 feet. And they say, excuse me, they say on the website 200 feet is about 70 big steps. That's a long distance.
Fair way. Your
other option, yeah. So 200 feet is a really long distance to leave the trail. So your other option, especially if you're on like the AT, for example, is to just use a privy because there are designated pooping locations.
There are. The only privies are great on the AT. The only problem is we all know we get called out, and you can't. There's very few times that I've needed to go when I was on the AT and there happened to be a handy privy. When you want to go and there's a privy nearby, it's kind of two totally different things.
You can't really schedule your bowel movements.
You can.
You can. And
but I suppose you could. Actually, that does kind of answer the previous question to a certain extent, especially on the AT, because if you do get caught out in the middle of nowhere, then you obviously can bag it, and then if you don't want to carry it, you can just get rid of it down the next privy.
Do that. You could do that. Cat hole, which are supposed to be 6 to 8 inches deep. So a lot deeper than a lot of us are digging our cat holes.
Yeah, that is quite deep.
Did anybody actually carry a spade or a shovel on AT? Did you run into many people actually carrying those?
I did. Yeah, I carried the Deuce of Spades hadn't come out yet, but I carried the classic Hunter Blaze Orange REI plastic trowel.
You're the only person I knew who carried that, though.
Yeah, I didn't see too many other people carrying.
Did you meet others?
I might have seen a few.
My point is just that I didn't see a ton of people carrying a shovel or spade or something. And because not a lot of people are carrying those, I'm going to go ahead and take a bet that we're not digging our cat holes 6 to 8 inches deep.
I didn't see many people. In fact, I don't even know if I saw anybody on the AT with a shovel or not. All the PCT come to that.
So you know how, like, if you've ever had a dog and your dog has an accident inside, like indoors in the house, and you come home and the dog like looks super, super guilty. Thing on the internet, like dog shaming. We should all feel that way about how we've been pooping in the woods. Of shaming everybody, including myself, because I think a lot of people don't follow this. We don't dig our cat holes deep enough, and I know for a fact that a lot of people don't, because I once actually stepped in human feces outside of a shelter on the AT.
Nice.
Yeah, Gary, you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember what footwear I was wearing?
You were wearing Crocs.
Ooh.
Croc of shit. Yeah, I almost fell, but I didn't.
Oh, man. I'm just, like, imagining those old school, like, Play-Doh toys where you, like, squeeze the Play-Doh through the hole.
Yeah, it was right outside of Damascus, right? Yeah, right outside Damascus.
It was the day...
it was...
Oh, look at that. Captain Clearbeard with the quote. Shit happens, but fecal matters. That's a Travis quote. That's because that story was in the book.
That is a Travis quote. That is exactly what Travis said.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me so
I think
happy.
we all need to be better. Don't even if it's raining outside or you don't like the weather, it's been raining for weeks. Don't shit next to the shelter. Like, don't do that to someone like me.
Yeah, I think shit. I mean, anyone with a modicum of common sense, I don't even understand why someone would shit next to a shelter. That just doesn't make any sense at all. That's just crazy.
Yeah. And think about people with really bad luck too. Like, even if you leave the trail But in like say you leave the trail and you poop 10 feet off the trail or 20 feet off the trail, and then you just cover it up with leaves. You're lazy. You don't actually bury it. You just cover it up with leaves. What if someone with really horrible luck just decides to go and poop in the same location and they step in your shit? Or, I mean, that's really unlikely. Or what if an animal smells that and gets into it? And like, that's just gross.
Yeah, for some reason they're into that.
For some reason, animals are into that. Like, what if someone has their dog out there and their dog starts rolling in it? Like, imagine being that dog owner. That's just not, it's not nice.
And worms, too.
Yeah, that's just disgusting. So please stop being gross about where you shit.
Yeah, knock it off.
I don't want to step in any more human feces.
That was pretty funny, though.
It was very funny, but it was really uncomfortable to have to clean.
I did that. I tried and shit on the Camino a couple of times, but you all know what I'm talking about when I talk about the Camino in Spain. Yeah, everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, there's a whole different attitude on the Camino, which I mean, I wouldn't say this for everybody, but the amount of times I was walking down the Camino and right in the middle of the trail, and I'm not talking about 2 feet to one side or 1 foot to the other side. I'm talking about right in the middle of the trail. Someone's taken a dump and left their toilet paper there as well.
God.
Right in the middle of the trail.
Oh.
And this happened in 1,000 miles, I'm guessing it's probably happened maybe 50 times.
Oh, my God.
Oh, whoa.
And
it's so horrible.
I don't know if it's... It kind of makes you think, well, maybe there's a different attitude in Europe to in the States. But even then, you know, it's like... I mean, I can't... I can't get my head around it now, even thinking about it. Why? Firstly, what about the privacy issue? Now, what if somebody comes around the corner or around a bend in the trail and you're just squatting in the middle of the trail? I mean, where's the...
What do you say?
Where's your shame? At least hide. I mean,
Zero shame.
You know... Oh, sorry, excuse me. I'm just taking a dump in the middle of the trail. Sorry.
God, that's so awful.
And then you just leave it there. I still can't figure it out to this day, but I don't understand it.
Oh, no.
I was on the PCT and I came across what looked like somebody just had the most explosive diarrhea everywhere and used probably about, no joke, a half a roll of toilet paper and then just left it everywhere. It was absolutely disgusting. Yeah.
Do we
I packed it out, but it was freaking disgusting.
Oh, you packed it out?
Yeah. Oh, man, I packed out so much toilet paper on that trail, I can't even begin to tell you.
Man, that's what you call dedication to the cause.
All right, I think we're going to cancel the random drawing for gear at the end of the episode and just go ahead and give it to Reptar for...
Reptar deserves
anybody who carries someone else. I don't even want to carry my own shit, let alone... Oh, man. I'm so opposed to the idea...
As long as you're clean about it, it's not like that big of a deal. It's just like picking up dog crap, you know? And the thing is like, especially in such, you know, the arid desert environment, you know, it's not going to decompose. Well, it will, but it's going to take forever, you know? So if you've got, you know, 50 people leaving the terminus every day, you know, for months on end, that adds up, you know? Right. And so when you're hiking down the trail, like every single little nook and cranny that you come across is like just covered in crap. Ugh.
So help me sleep a little better tonight. This other human feces, someone else's human feces that you found, was at least like baked in the sun, so that it was at least part, you know, like solidified. You know, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't all smeary.
I wasn't packing out actual crap. Like I wasn't picking up their poo and putting it in a bag. I mean, it was the poo covered toilet paper that was strewn about. I actually have a picture of it. I don't know if I have it on my phone, but I'll let you guys keep talking and I'll look for it. And maybe I can show you guys, but it was gnarly.
Oh, the fond memories of
Hey, someone suggested in the show that, or in the chat, that we have a SFTT poop shovel. I feel like that's a great way to brand this show.
I love this idea.
That is a good idea.
I love this idea.
I mean, think about how much we talk about poop.
I love this idea. We have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell
Zach Davis can have his
cool
really hat with the Trek logo on it. It
would have to be cutting edge technology as well. I think we'd have to put some research into it. I mean, we can't use any old stuff here. It's obviously got to be super light. I'm thinking titanium, maybe something like that.
We've got. I think let's at least try. I'm going to reach out to Deuce of Spades and see if they'll print a logo on a poop spade for us. Maybe
we'll my God.
Yes. I'm so happy with this idea. I love this.
There's a reason that we talk about poop on the show. It's not just to be funny. It's not just to shame people. It's also because we get great ideas like this.
Oh, it's true. Okay, so we are definitely going to go over time, but at this point, I think we kind of have to finish, and I don't want to rush it. So I'm okay with continuing as long as you guys are. I put something up in the chat.
The last couple of things aren't very long. The poop was really the longest thing.
Yeah, but like I said,
I was late tonight anyway, so I need to put in some overtime to make up for it. So I'm good.
Okay.
We can get through these quickly.
No, what I was saying is we don't have to rush. I don't want it to be rushed. I want it to still. I'm just saying I'll stick around as long as we need to.
Whether I rush it or not, these are relatively fast.
Yeah, I'm just saying act normal. Just act normal.
Just act normal. Act normal.
Ready, go.
Hi, officer.
Okay, so the next point is?
Okay, so moving on from disposing of waste, 4 is leave what you find.
That's kind of a bit contentious, that one, because you think if you were finding stuff, especially rolls of soiled toilet paper.
Okay,
it's kind of contentious with the previous point, isn't it?
I'm going to put a little asterisk on this one. So it's leave what you find that exists in nature and that nature intended to be there.
Yeah, that's a good little subclause there. That's
in
good.
New England, especially, we're really big on not transporting firewood. That's you'll see signs everywhere about that. Transporting firewood between state lines is illegal up here, but it's because of all the insects that can get in there. So if you're bringing insects that are in wood from Canada to Vermont, say, it could harm the trees that are in Vermont. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that putting lumber or wood from another country or state is how we had that ash borer. I think it was the ash borer thing.
The emerald ash borer. Emerald ash borer.
Emerald ash borer.
I forget what that is.
That's it. Gary, you want to expound on that?
No, because I don't remember what that is. I'm going to look it up.
Is that a picture of the poop bag you just put up?
Yes. That's one of them. That's not even the one instance. I packed out maybe 20 of those. People are dirty.
They're disgusting.
What was I looking up?
You were looking at the
we're back on the poop subject already. Back to the wood subject.
Sorry.
Get on to poop. Emerald ash borer.
Okay, thanks. Keep going.
Far away.
Yeah, you keep talking. I'm going to look it up.
I mean, I Googled it too, but my internet's not working that fast. But anyhow.
Oh shit! That's the wrong button.
Oh god.
That was good.
Oh no!
Definitely professionals here.
God. Oh,
just a green.
It's so cheap, but it just always works, doesn't it? If someone farts, it just always works. It's so cheap, but it just works. It's funny.
I hate that works so well too, but that's the emerald ash borer is a green or jewel beetle native to northeastern Asia that feeds on ash species. Doesn't say anything about the infestation, but I know we lost
I have a little bit here. It was first discovered in the Detroit area in 2002, and it's believed to have entered the country on wooden packing materials from China. It's a very bright metallic green colored beetle. It's very pretty. Ash trees are from, and this is from arborday.org. Ash trees are one of the most valuable and abundant North American woodland trees, or destroys them. So a few of these beetles come into the country can really wipe out the population of ash trees. So anyhow, I'm not going to get on like a long rant about it, but is that pests can relocate when we transport them unknowingly. So it's why we shouldn't be transporting firewood or other random things, or just don't pick up beetles in one state and leave them in another. Just don't do it. Gary, anything else to add?
What about?
It's a good point. I can't think of anything else to add.
Agreed. Carry on.
Let's see. Oh wait, one more thing on leave what you find. Don't pick all the flowers, guys. Like, don't pick all the flowers.
Oh
yeah. They need to be able to pollinate. Yeah. They're very pretty, but if you want to pick flowers, like leave it to picking flowers that are in like a man-made garden instead of ones that live in the woods, because those are oftentimes relatively rare and they need to be alive in order to pollinate and make more flowers. I think it's the lady slipper in particular I think the lady slipper is a protected species in a lot of states.
Yep.
So it's a very, very pretty flower, but take a picture of it with your phone.
I'm gonna pick a flower and put it in my hair.
I want to see this.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap myself out for this one. But so I was trying to, win over the heart of a young lass while I was hiking the Appalachian Trail. And I was like, oh man, look at this pretty flower. But, I had no idea. And again, this goes back to rule one is, prepare, know what you're getting into. But so I picked this flower and bring it to her, and she's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, you can't pick that flower. No. Go put it back. And like, my heart just broke. I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to do something sweet here, and I just got shut down. So
it's just a romance killer, isn't it? It's
man. Yeah, well, that's what I get. I deserved it.
In games until you realize you're murdering a helpless flower.
Oh man.
Okay, I think we can move on from that one. Does anybody have anything else to add to leave what you find?
I think we're good.
Nope.
Number 5, minimize campfire impact.
Starting with don't burn down the mountain.
Remember Smokey the Bear.
Yeah.
Don't burn down the mountain. Make sure your fires are extinguished before you leave a campsite. And the other thing that I found on lnt.org that I found interesting, that I think that we oftentimes forget about, is that we shouldn't be burning trash that is combustible. So, I mean, I think we all know that you shouldn't put like a foil packet of tuna in your campfire. Like that's not combustible. But it was the LNT website was also talking about like your napkins and your toilet paper. It was saying don't burn that because one, it doesn't typically fully burn, so it's not completely gone, and you're leaving some odors behind there at that fire, like human feces smells apparently for critters. But also apparently like burning toilet paper is one of the common causes of like forest fires. Because if you think about paper, like you get more ash with it, I think.
Yeah, you do. It tends to. Yeah, you can see it sort of floating away like the orange embers and stuff, can't you?
Flaming turd bombs.
Flaming turd bombs. And we're back to poop.
It wasn't me.
What did it take, guys?
Sorry. What in the world are we looking at here? Oh, wow.
But yeah, I think trash burning is like a big one. I've seen it and packed out so many fire pits full of trash. That's up there with toilet paper, I would say.
My favorite is always the the tin can. Then how does anyone not know that tin doesn't burn? I mean, do they honestly think it's combustible or something?
The other thing about burning stuff that's not combustible is like, that's not just tin. That's not just like an aluminum packet. That's a packet with like layers of chemicals and other stuff put on them to keep it like completely water resistant, to keep it from making your food taste like aluminum. Like there are harmful chemicals that are on that we don't really come into contact with unless we release those chemicals from the substance by burning it. So you're releasing chemicals and carcinogens into the air, and you're polluting right in the middle of the woods. And you're also you could harm your own health if you're, burning up something that's releasing toxic chemicals. So
what is actually the law on, I mean, let's go back to the AT, we always seem to sort of go back to the AT, but I mean, I know, if you sort of get to shelters and sort of designated campsites or both in one, that invariably they have a fire ring and, there's normally a fire going, but I mean, I'm assuming that's legal, that's not illegal to do that, but what if you're, I don't know, let's say you're caught in the unlikely event you're 5 miles from a shelter and for whatever reason you have to camp. What are the legalities in the States of sort of camping just off the trail and having a fire? Is that illegal or?
Depends.
I mean, also, I assume it's not advised, but is it illegal?
Depends on the state.
It's based on the.
And then even within the state, it depends on the park. And I have
the location within the park.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that goes back to step one: prepare. Know the local regulations. I've seen places where the rangers, as just part of their daily routine, they will disassemble the same fire ring every day because it's not a designated campsite and throw the rocks into the woods as far as they can. And every day somebody will come in and reassemble it. And and other places where it's just like, you can practice bushcraft here, just don't cut anything down. Or, the rules they vary from state to state, and it can be confusing. And it all goes back to rule number 1, which is prepare.
Yeah. And you shouldn't be building a fire ring if one's not already there. That goes back to not just prepare, but also like using a durable surface. If it's not already a fire ring, don't make it a fire ring. Survival issue. Sure. Like if you actually are in a survival, like a dangerous situation where you might not make it through the night, then like, yeah, okay. If you need to send smoke signals to get help, okay. Different thing. But
Okay.
Yeah, man, I'm in agreement with all of that.
Don't burn down the mountain.
Don't
light the forest on fire. Yeah.
This next one we've already. It's kind of neat how they all tie together too. Like you can't really just talk about one without pulling the other ones into it. Like respect. I'm sorry, you're the next. I'm sorry, I was jumping on your list.
Gary, you don't have to apologize.
I get so excited.
You can have number 6. Nope. Do you want to do number 6?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, number 6 is respect wildlife.
I was going to say respect wildlife. So...
Gary, please raise your hand next time.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Anyways, respect wildlife. We already talked about this a little bit. What else do we have to say about that? We already talked about don't feed the animals. Don't feed the bears. Please don't feed the bears.
For the love of God, don't stand in a knee-deep river flipping rocks looking for hellbenders.
What's a hellbender?
Oh man, they're really cool. They call them. We also call them snot dogs. It is the largest amphibian in the. Okay, I need somebody to fact check this one for me. It's either the largest amphibian in the eastern U.S. or maybe even in the U.S. Found most commonly in the Smokies. They grow to like 7 or 8 pounds. They're as long as your arm, and they look
Are
like
you serious?
Yeah, they look like
coming shortly.
They look like
It's basically a giant salamander.
Yeah, but imagine like if you shaved a chihuahua and then threw it into a tub of green gelatin and then pulled it out, it would. Oh, there it is.
Oh man, that looks like an alien.
It looks the thing that crawled out of the guy's chest in Alien.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Are those things dangerous?
No. But they're
Come
endangered.
on, all wildlife in the States is dangerous, surely.
You're thinking of Australia.
That's how my buddy Hellbender got his name.
Oh, how?
He saw one like 2 miles into the AT.
Oh man!
Dang.
Wow.
I've never seen one.
What kind of pack was it carrying?
I've got to tell you, if I knew those things were on the AT before I came out there, I wouldn't have gone out and hiked the AT.
They're beautiful. Yeah.
I just got visions of
They're very
sitting by the side of the creek and
Endangered.
throwing water on my face, and one of those things pops its head out from underneath a pebble, throws itself at my face, latches around it, and sends something down in my stomach. You can just imagine the screams coming out of Georgia, can't you?
Oh man!
Look at the other picture I put in. It has eyes and a face.
Oh,
It's
look how
kind of
cute
cute.
they are. Yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah, the second picture does
cute,
kind
right?
of look a bit more cute. Yeah.
They get eyes.
Look, it's
and,
got white nail varnish as well.
You got a French
nails are
manicure.
on point.
Yeah. But I think they're either endangered or protected or whatever the official status is. The rule is leave them alone. If you see one that's
leave them alone.
I'm
It's
definitely leaving it alone. I'm not getting anywhere near it.
Yeah, but
It's like the same thing as like you don't fuck with wildlife. Like you don't poke a rattlesnake. You don't or a copperhead. Those are the things you see on the AT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone I know, and I don't know many, but everyone I know who's been bitten by a snake was in the act of trying to pick it up when it happened. So don't do that either.
Any other respect wildlife tips?
The ponies in the Grayson Highlands.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You're not supposed to feed or pet them.
Yeah.
But everybody does.
Everybody does.
But I mean, I can kind of understand
aggressive.
that. Yeah, well, that and to them, people are giant salt licks, so if you walk over to them, they'll start licking you anyway.
That'd be a good trail name, Salt Lick.
Gary, were you there when the pony tried to steal someone's backpack?
I can't. I've been there like 3 or 4 times, so I can't remember.
Okay. Well, when I was in the Grayson Highlands, there was a hiker was eating. I think it was a day hiker actually was eating a snack out of a plastic bag, and the pony came at the snack bag and he turned away and pulled the snack bag away. And as he did that, the pony went for his backpack at his feet instead. Ah. And the only reason the ponies know that they can get snacks from humans is because humans have fed them snacks.
It's almost like the animals are learning and we're not. Sorry. I don't really mean to.
Good point.
Fellow humans.
The very last thing I want to say about respecting wildlife is that it doesn't just apply with our interactions with animals, it's also our pets. So consider, if you're a person who hikes with a dog, consider your pet's behavior in the wilderness as well. Pets are animals, and you can't control everything that they do. But if your dog has a tendency to be aggressive towards smaller wildlife like birds and stuff, don't bring your dog to an area where there's a bunch of wild birds, like
the forest.
Like the forest.
Sorry.
The woods. Yeah.
Or train your dog to not chase those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially the squirrels in Vermont, because those things are adorable.
They're so cute.
So always leash your squirrels. That's
always leash your pet squirrel when you take them for a walk.
Reading and listening at the same time.
Sorry, did you have something, Gary?
I did not.
You said you were reading?
Never mind.
I missed that. That went over my head.
Never mind.
Do you want to take the last one, Gary?
Well, I thought it was interesting that our talk about dogs leads perfectly into the number 7 principle, which is be considerate of other visitors. Did I say that right?
You did.
Oh, cool. What do you have in your notes about that? Because you're more prepared than I am.
I've got a lot in my notes. The pets thing is obviously something. If your dog is aggressive towards people, maybe don't bring it to a campsite where there's a bunch of people. There's a good idea.
Yeah, and keep them on a leash.
Keep him on a leash.
Yeah.
And be careful of the park rules, because sometimes it's a 4-foot leash and not one of those ones with a little retractable thing. Considerate of visitors, which, I mean, I think a lot of us who've been on the AT are guilty of this, because the AT tends to be a very social place. Is our noise, our volume. Sometimes we're loud in the woods. The LNT website pointed out, I think there's always a time and a place for it. And if you seem to be interrupting, then maybe don't use your outdoors voice outdoors, I guess. I don't know. Voice, so I'm a hypocrite here.
So if you're in the woods right now and you're listening to stories from the trail on your Bluetooth speaker, turn it up, man. No, turn it. Don't do that.
I feel like it's like a big thing, because if you're just gonna listen to music quietly, like you're in your own little bubble, that's one thing. But if you've got like one of those like really hefty Bluetooth speakers and you're at a shelter and you're blasting EDM like at 7 p.m.
Show up with glow sticks and
like, maybe don't be a dick. Like, that's not cool. Some of us go to bed at like 7 or 7:30 when we're hiking in the woods.
Hiker midnight. Yeah. Hiker midnight.
That's something I've actually experienced myself. When I was in Vermont, there was a group of kids. I don't know if it was like a summer camp or they were 12, but they probably were like, it was probably like a freshman introduction, like that sort of thing. And they were on a camping trip and they were being quite loud. They were up late. They were doing the whole like telling stories around the campfire. They were making marshmallows. They had this nice big fire, but they were also being very loud at like 9 p.m. And I was in my sleeping bag at 7:45. It was like 2 hours of me just stewing in my sleeping bag until I got up and was just like, okay, can you guys just keep it down a little bit? Like, some of us actually need to sleep. So
yeah,
it's
like...
one of...
Go on, sorry. Yeah, go on, sorry. Go on.
I was just going to say, be respectful. Like, be aware of your surroundings. If you're at a public campsite where there's a lot of people, just maybe talk to your fellow hiker. If they look like they're getting ready for bed, ask them, hey, are you okay if I do this? And like, try to keep your volume down if someone looks like they're going to be sleeping, because remember, it's a shared space. It's not just your space.
It's almost like, I generally sort of consider, well, I think most people that I hike with generally consider that, kind of sundown, when it was dark, was when, hike at midnight, as Gary said, and that's when you basically shut up. You don't make any noise because, people are sleeping. It was... I think it was a bigger problem in the AT, especially in the shelters, because you're in sort of much closer proximity, and it's not just sort of people talking. I mean, that was kind of, I think, everybody's pet hate when you're trying to sleep, but also the light thing, people turning headlamps, head torches on to read or that sort of thing. So it's not just a vocal thing; it's the visual thing as well, the light thing.
Number 2 on my list, because it's one of my peeves as
What's number 2 on your list?
Lights and light pollution.
Oh yeah.
When you're in the woods and say you're at a shelter and you're lying down, you're sleeping, it's like 8:30, and someone decided they were going to hike a little later, or they just were slower and they come into the shelter late at night. or 8:30 being late at night, and they've got their bright white spotlight LED headlamp shining, and they're looking for a place to set up, either put where they want to put a tent down or they want to try to wiggle into the shelter, and they've got this bright spotlight. It's as if you're at home and someone walked into your bedroom and took a flashlight and shining a flashlight in your face. If someone did that at your house, you'd be pretty pissed off. That's like, it's not a pleasant way to wake up. So think of other people when you're coming into, if you're hiking later at night, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with hiking later at night or coming into a shelter late. I mean, I've done it plenty of times. Just be considerate. If you're getting close to the shelter,
it's a bedroom.
Dim your headlamp. It's a bedroom. You're walking into a public bedroom. Dim your headlamp. A lot of the new LED headlamps have a way to dim the white light down, or they have a red lamp or a green lamp. And those, even though you have to give yourself a little time to adjust between the bright white and the red, those are the most considerate way to enter a public shelter. And just, keep the noise down. Be quiet. Tiptoe in. Set up your tent quietly. If there's no space in the shelter, or there's only a small amount of space and you're the one showing up late, like maybe just put your tent up instead. Don't try to weasel your way between two people just because, two people who are sleeping just because you were in kind of late and there might be a little bit of space. Like, that's gross. Don't do that. Don't touch other people at night.
The red light thing's a good point. I always used to think, the red light thing was, is it not to save your eyesight? It's kind of on the eyes, isn't it? And I always thought it was just for kind of like a personal thing. So you could, for example, it was dark and you were looking at your map and you looked at it with the red light. When you turned it off, your eyesight was kind of then more in tune to the darkness again, as opposed to using a white one. But it's a good tip for. It's a good tip for shelters. I mean, if you really have to put your light on, it's worth remembering that the red one is a lot kinder to others than, the 7,000 lumen 42 LED 4-wheel drive turbo injected bastard thing that lights up half of Virginia when you turn it on.
Hold on, I gotta pull start my headlamp.
Doubles as an emergency beacon.
Yeah.
2-stroke engine.
I can't turn it on. I forgot the ignition keys.
When you're sleeping though, and that rolls into the shelter though, that's what it feels like. It's just.
It's so you. I think you made a good point when you said it's like if you wouldn't walk into someone's bedroom with it and then shining a light in someone's face, wondering where you're gonna.
Yeah, like imagine being a kid. If your parents went in your bedroom doing that, you'd be like, "What the fuck, mom and dad?" Like, even if you're 8 years old,
I couldn't say that because I get in
F-bomb.
trouble for swearing. But I know what you mean.
You would learn the F word really, really quickly if that's what your parents. That's how your parents checked on you. Like, they're worried about you sleeping. They come in with a flashlight instead of peering into the door like a normal parent. They come in with a flashlight. That's.
Oh, this is the most fun I've had recording in a long time. This is great. I'm so glad that we did this.
Was that the last point, or we got another one?
Well, yeah.
That's it. Everybody leave. We're done.
I had one more thing about being considerate. Because these are my peeves, and I when I was hiking AT, I tended to be a faster hiker, and one of my peeves is when I was going down a mountain or up a mountain or anyway in the woods, and I was getting close behind someone, and they wouldn't move the fuck over to let me go by. But it's so irritating when I'm like basically running down a mountain. And the person in front of me sees me, doesn't move. It's like, excuse me, could you move?
Have you tried staring angrily at the back of their head?
I have tried staring angrily so hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when you're going uphill too. That's also a problem. Like when I start approaching people and like they just keep hustling along, like they pick up their pace. It's so irritating for people to just pick up their pace and try to match mine.
Hey, you know how on escalators you're supposed to stand on the right and on the left is where people who want to walk a little bit faster are supposed to pass you? Is that the same
it's like the same thing. It's
is
like
that the
it's
same
just
in England?
Being
Or
aware of your surroundings.
Or do you stand on the left and pass on the right?
Is it not?
You stand on the right and pass on the left.
Is it not also trail etiquette that if you're hiking uphill, you've got priority over those coming downhill anyway? Is that kind of like an unwritten rule?
It is. Yeah,
Yes.
you're supposed to step aside.
Is that a
That's how
That's a
I always
safety
kind of
thing, too.
considered. Yeah, if people are coming uphill, I generally sort of step to one side. But I don't know if it's illegal not to do it or anything like that. But I just thought it was general etiquette.
You get pulled over by the trail
Like-
police.
By the way, in England, if we're going up an
Awareness.
elevator, we stand on the left hand side.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was asking. Yeah, on the on the escalators, you stand on the other side.
I think in the U.S. we stand on the right and pass on the left, right?
Correct.
I don't know. I don't use a lot of escalators.
Yeah, or you're that person. You're the one standing in the middle reading her phone.
I still don't like getting
No, I'm
on
not.
escalators or off escalators, especially getting off them. That I don't know. It freaks me out still. I don't know what that's
Stairs.
about. But
I just like to take the stairs.
oh,
Liz.
do your escalators over there have kind of those black sort of brushes at the bottom that kind of like at foot
Yes.
level? Do you get those things?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't
Okay,
know
I
what
remember
you're
when
talking about.
I used to work at an office years ago, and I used to wear black leather shoes. I always used to hold my shoe against those brushes because it would like polish my shoes as I was going up the escalator.
That is some low budget. That is a hiker trash move right there. If hikers,
That is a hiker trash move for
It's a free
sure.
shoe polish. I think we should also point out that just in case anyone's in any doubt, there aren't any escalators on the AT.
there's that one. There's that one.
No escalators on the AT. You have to actually move your legs.
Okay.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
you have to hike uphill and downhill.
I think that passing thing though, speaking of the AT, I think it applies more in like on busier trails, like day hikes, than it does on the AT. Like it's not. I guess I didn't really run into that so much on the AT because people are typically long distance backpacking. Like you don't have a huge swaths of people, but it's big on day hikes, which is where you're gonna find a lot of day hikers who maybe don't know the trail etiquette. Maybe you'll find some people hiking in jeans. I don't know. So it's one of those situations where so irritating when people just don't know. Like I hate being the rude person who's walking up behind a group of teenage kids, whatever, talking, laughing, listening to music loudly, having the time of their lives, and it's a group of like 8 of them, and I've got to be like, hey guys, hey, can I get by? Like that's
What is your
make me be the rude one.
if you were like if it wasn't a group and there was maybe just 1 or 2 people in front of you and you're coming up behind, do you have a sort of preferred method of letting them know that you're behind? Do you sort of say, excuse me? Do you sort of politely cough? Or
I've learned that the polite cough doesn't typically get people's attention. So I do just go straight for the excuse me. But when I have to like round up a whole group and like holler ahead and like get all of them off to the side just so that I can pass and like they're all having conversations, like that's just, it's so irritating. And maybe this is just me being like, I like being in the woods alone. Maybe I'm just like,
yeah,
maybe
me
it's
too.
just a me it might be just a me pet peeve.
Yeah.
Like everyone should be able to go outside and enjoy the woods on their own, but everyone should also just like be aware of their surroundings a little bit more.
I agree. Earth King Bunny just said in comments, you could fart. That's easier said than done, though, because I mean,
Yeah, I feel like that would work better if like I was in front of them.
it would definitely work better when you're in front. And also, you can't. We're going back to the on-demand fart thing again. I mean, they don't sort of crop up when you need
that
them,
would
do
be
they?
really good, like retribution, like after the fact. So say I have to round up a group of like 8 teenage kids who are just having a fun time. Like, hey, all right, all of you, I need to get by thank you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then up there, just maybe like just crop dust all of them.
You could, I mean, that's kind of like that's not good trail etiquette, though, is it? I mean, think about it. You know, you come up behind them and you say, "Excuse me, do you mind if I just pass?" And you know, they get out of your way. You walk past them, they get back on the trail, and then you fart in their face. I mean, that's kind of like, thanks very much, you know, cheers.
Yeah, that's a little vindictive, and I think it goes right back to Rule 7, be considerate of other visitors. I don't think crop dusting a bunch of teenage kids is considerate. We feel better.
The right side of the trail is for standing. The left side of the trail is for passing. Gas, that is.
Jesus.
Oh.
All right. I hate myself for doing that. But the button is right there. We're never using it. This is the last time we will ever hear that. It's never coming back.
It's not the last time we'll ever.
We're better than this.
It's definitely not the last time.
We are better than this. We can.
We're not better than this, Gary. We're not.
Is that really all it takes?
Dusting teenagers.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
It's funny, but it's cheap.
All right, so
that's all I had.
Well,
for
that
notes.
was very nice, Megan. Thank you for
Megan, you were
preparing all
prepared
that.
this week.
Yeah.
I did no preparation. Well, I normally don't do any preparation, but you were.
I really
you were
like this
prepared
topic.
Yeah, you did.
I feel very, very strongly about leave no trace ethics, even if I've violated every single one of these at some point in my life. It's good for us to be aware of them, and I think it's good for everybody. I mean, even if you can't be perfect about it, none of us are going to be perfect and follow every single one of these rules to a T. It's good to have a general comprehensive idea of what leave no trace is. And that way, if you are hiking with your friends, if you're one of the people like me who likes to bring new people hiking and take newbies hiking, you can teach them a should or should not be doing, just so that we're all being nicer to the planet and we can live in harmony. Okay.
Wow.
She's good this week, isn't she?
Yeah.
Well, she's good most weeks.
It's prepared.
This might be my favorite episode so far.
Well, I did prepare.
I like the part where Megan
prepared
got
to have
mad.
the entire episode, not like the tail end. So I'm sorry for keeping everyone.
Oh no, that's fine. And if I would have known that, I wouldn't have screwed around so much at the beginning. Well, you know, but
that's okay.
Yep.
You didn't hear my notes?
It sounded like you were unfolding like an easel and you know, you were getting ready to bust out the dry erase markers and
actually
really give a presentation.
That was just the sound of my binder.
That was well done.
With the printout of my PowerPoint presentation.
All right. So
next time, I think the next show, I'm definitely going to double my my preparation and research next time. I'm going to go for 5 minutes, a whole 5 minutes next time.
2 times 0 is still 0, Fozzie.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're way over time, and
my apologies to everyone who's hung on for this long.
No, don't. You have no reason to apologize at all. I'm the one who babbled for a half an hour before we actually got into it.
It's fine. I don't normally prepare this much, so I can understand why you wouldn't expect it of me.
It's a treat, and our millions of listeners who will hear this later have no idea that we're past time because they can press pause.
You can press pause. It's just it's something I feel like. With the small platform that we have, I feel like we have an obligation to make sure that we're not just getting people into hiking because it's fun and we talk about lots of cool stuff and some crazy stuff too, but we also talk about like be behaving, the ethical side of it too, because that's really, really important. If we're all going to keep enjoying all of these trails, whether they be the Appalachian Trail, the PCT, or just like a trail in your local park. If we're all going to keep enjoying those, we need to make sure that we abide by these leave no trace ethics and just pay attention to them and be respectful to everyone.
Perfect. All right.
Bam! Mic drop.
Yeah, seriously, no kidding. Oh. All right, let's do a quick giveaway before we sign off. And because we went way over time, I'm going to throw a few extra things in the bag here. So we're going to pick someone at random from the chat. We're going to give away this ALDHA bag. There are patches in here for your pack. that say various things on them. There's an ALDHA patch. These are nice, high-quality patches, too. So if you're a pack patcher, as some people are, there's like 4 of them in here for you. The ALDHA tote bag, the shirt. We put a picture of the shirt in the chat. We've got an Nalgene bottle, and I am also going to throw in an ultralight compass and a fire starter ferro rod. So if you're into ultralight or
cool.
minimalism, you can wear your ALDHA shirt and start a fire, and then pour water on it from your Nalgene bottle so that you can leave no trace. And because I didn't really put too much, like Fozzie, I put less than 5 minutes of preparation time into this. So we're just going to go with good old fashioned random drawing. Fozzie, I sent you a message earlier with the secret number so that people can't accuse us of cheating. You have a time-stamped number that says what it is. And we're just going to do simple guess a number. It's between 1 and 100, and whoever can guess the closest without going over gets the prize pack. We'll just have you message me in the chat, and we'll work out addresses and over email or whatnot. But just go ahead and just type everybody type any number in the chat between 1 and 100, and whoever's the closest.
Single number though, right? You don't get to pick
They get one
numbers.
guess, and we're doing Price is Right style, closest without going over.
Without going over, okay. That's right.
Okay, so I think we got everybody who's not currently.
Is it like
who's not part of the
Megan,
show?
shut
I
the
mean, like
fuck
you
up, I'm
can't.
leaving.
I'm sorry, Megan, you can't guess, and Fozzie, you have the secret number, so you can't guess either. All right, so do you want to say what it is, and then you can announce the winner?
I'm trying to find the secret number. I don't know where the hell it is.
Oh,
It's so secret, even Fozzie doesn't know.
I don't know where it is. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? I've just found it. Okay.
hooray.
I found the secret number.
Okay, so if you could say what the number is, and then tell the person in the chat who won.
It's the person that's closest, right?
It's the person who's closest without going over, and then let me get my fanfare ready for the winner. Okay, we're ready.
I guess the winner in that case is... Hang on, I've forgotten the number. No, I've got it now. I've written it down. I've written it down on my research pad. Okay, this week's secret number is number 42, which I'm guessing makes the winner Earth King Bummy, does it not?
I think so. There you go. Yes. Congratulations, Earth King Bummy. So you win the prize pack for tonight, which has all the ALDHA stuff in it, and survival fire starter and an ultralight compass. So if you can figure out how to send either me or Fozzie a message, we'll get with you and figure out where to send this. Congratulations. We've got a few more. We'll give away a few more things next week too. A couple of these here. Oh, we've got something else. Well, I'll save it for next time.
Gary, if you want, I can send you a few books over if you want to put those in the prizes. I don't know if that's going to actually send people away from the show, but if you want some, just let me know.
It's fine, Fozzie. We'll surprise them with it. We'll just edit out that you said that.
Well, let's see what if shipping overseas or something like that becomes prohibitive. Maybe we'll figure something out.
Okay,
cool. All right. Well, congratulations. And thanks again to everybody for sticking around. I know we went over time a little bit, but like Megan said, it was
everyone for listening to me get on my soapbox and yammer on endlessly. I appreciate it.
I think it was the bestest show ever.
I kind of think so too. I think
don't
this
say
one's
that.
This one's going to be hard to follow. In fact, let's just have this be the last one. Good night. Reptar, do we have a guest for next week? Or is it too soon to say?
Possibly. I mean, I know we have a Second Chance Hiker coming up. Okay. I'm still trying to solidify that one because last time I spoke with him, he was at the base of Mount San Jacinto, about to hike over it just after it snowed. So I'm not exactly sure where he's at right now, but if not next week, then the week after that. Also, I talked to Juliana Chauncey, who's on the AT right now. And I've also talked to the hiking prodigy who just recently finished a calendar year Triple Crown. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So we got some good stuff coming up.
Okay.
All right. Unless anybody has anything else, I think we had a good session tonight, and I'm going to go eat some food. Late dinner.
I'm going to go
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Hopefully worth it for y'all too. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. Good night.
All right.
Night.
Night.
Stories from the Trail is a production of thetrek.co. Zach Davis, editor-in-chief. Your hosts are Green Giant, Voldemort, and Reptar. The show is easy to find on pretty much any social media you can think of, as long as you know how to use Google and spell the name of the show correctly. Our theme music is by Lee Rosevere. The show is mixed, edited. The show is recorded. The show is recorded, mixed, edited, and mixed. The show is recorded, mixed, and edited by me in my blanket fort. The show is mixed, edited, and recorded by. The show is recorded. The show is recorded, mixed, edited. The show is recorded, mixed. Blanket Fort Studios, which is just me in my basement with a blanket over my head. Thanks for listening. We sound like Bob Ross on that one.
Hey guys, we're going to talk about poop again.